Working? Yes, thank you. Our second speaker is Jiaqing again, who's going to tell us about Gibbs state preparation for commuting Hamiltonians. Let's welcome her.
Happy to see you all again. Yeah, so as I said in last talk, the first thing you might try is just commuting Hamiltonian. So I'm going to talk about Gibbs state preparation for commuting Hamiltonian by mapping to classical Gibbs sampling. So this is joint work with Yeongwoo, so he is here. Also, again, if you are interested in our techniques, you can find our papers on archive. So to begin with, let's just first try to recap the notation. The main question we care about is we try to do Gibbs sampling for commuting Hamiltonian. So the input, more precisely, the input is given local Hamiltonian, where all the local terms are commuting. So that's what we mean for commuting Hamiltonian. So in case you want to get some intuition about, okay, what is commuting Hamiltonian? So the most direct example would be classical Hamiltonian. But what I want to really emphasize or mention is commuting Hamiltonian can be more non-trivial, much more non-trivial than just classical. So for example, classical is something of low entanglement, but in fact, commuting Hamiltonian can be highly entangled. It contains all the stabilizer codes, including toric code, whose eigenstate cannot be prepared by arbitrary constant depth quantum circuit. So that's a short introduction to commuting Hamiltonian. But anyway, the main problem we study is given a commuting Hamiltonian and given inverse temperature beta, and we want to just prepare the Gibbs states. So different from the last talk, we only care about correctness. So here we care about efficiency. We want our argument to be fast. And here, I write a formula for the Gibbs states, but it's not so important because, so in the following, I won't go into too much technical details. So what you want to remember is just we are trying to design an algorithm to prepare Gibbs states. So that's the main question. So here is the outline of the following talk. So first, to avoid confusion, I will give a very high-level description of previous work and our work. And then after that, I will give a more detailed description of our work and the comparison between previous work. So, and if we have some time, more time, I might talk about something related to quantum approximate counting. So that's a plan. So then let's first begin with the previous work and our work in high level. So our goal is to prepare Gibbs states for commuting Hamiltonian. And again, let's begin with the case for classical Hamiltonian. So for classical Hamiltonian, the Gibbs states is just a distribution over computational basis. So what you want to do, in the multiple algorithm, you just design Markov chain. So as the name of Markov chain is a very old topic, and it has been studied for more than 80 years. So here, I use 6 plus to indicate there are a lot of results. That's all I want to say. That's for classical case. If we're looking at commuting case, I would say this problem is relatively much new. So most of the previous results are based on something related to depth generator. So I won't explain too much about depth generator, but it's just some kind of quantum analog of Markov chain. And people after 10 years study or even more, people also get a lot of results for fast mixing for commuting Hamiltonian. But it's not, the number of results is much less than the classical case. So, and one more thing I want to mention is those two types of problem has some connection. So most of the previous results for commuting Hamiltonian are in fact some kind of generalization of the proof techniques. So they generalize the proof techniques for analyzing classical Markov chain to analyzing the spectral gap in the depth generator. So that's what people did before. So you may ask, okay, what's new in this talk? So in this talk, we also try to design efficient Gibbs sampler for commuting Hamiltonian. But different from using depth generator, we do something more direct. So we will directly use classical Gibbs sampler. So here I use 5 plus to say our results is able to replicate many known results, state-of-art results for commuting Hamiltonian, as well as generate some new results. So So you may ask, so at this point, you may ask, okay, what does it mean to say like we directly use classical Gibbs sampler? So in one word, I would say this: we are doing some kind of reduction. And more precisely, we are doing something like the following. So we are in this task, we are given a commuting Hamiltonian edge. And our goal is to do some kind of Gibbs sampling. We want to prepare Gibbs states for edge. So from very high level, what we are doing is like, we will first compute the classical Hamiltonian edge, say, which is related to edge. And then we run a classical Markov chain for this classical Hamiltonian. So this is what we mean for directly use classical Gibbs sampler. So by running this classical Markov chain, we will get a classical string, and we will use this string as some reference to do some quantum operation. So here, like, for the simple quantum operation, it's something like perform a constant depth circuit, or do something, a chain or pony, something like this. So it's a simple quantum operation. And we claim like so by doing this, we will get a quantum state. We claim the final distribution. So when you take all the randomness in the process into account, the final state will be the Gibbs state for commuting Hamiltonian. So this is what I mean for reduction. So one thing I want to emphasize is like in the, so I write a red sentence after the simple quantum operation. It's for one time. It's like we only do the quantum operation for one time. So different from a quantum Markov chain where you do a quantum channel again, and again, similar to rounding Markov chain. So here we only do the quantum operation for once. So all the Markov chain process or all of the iteration happens for the Gibbs sampling for the classical Hamiltonian. So like in short, our resulting high level is like we are doing some kinds of Gibbs sampling reduction from commuting Hamiltonian to classical. So that's a high-level description. So like in summary, we're just doing some kinds of Gibbs sampling reduction. So our result in more details is like, you ask which kinds of thing you can do reduction. So from high level, like our main theories is like we can do Gibbs sampling reduction for various commuting Hamiltonian. So this includes two types of things. One is any QD two local commuting Hamiltonian on arbitrary graph. And in this reduction, the corresponding classical Hamiltonian will also be QD two local on any graph. So this is some relatively easier region. And besides two local, if you're ever working on the complexity of commuting Hamiltonian, so two local would be more close to classical. But besides two local, we can also do something slightly more non-trivial. It's like we can do Gibbs sampling reduction for a large class of qubit for local commuting Hamiltonian, which includes toric code. So more precisely, for those kinds of qubit for local case, the corresponding, so I'm going to explain what's the like structure of the classical Hamiltonian. So the structure of the classical Hamiltonian HSA will depend on whether those kinds of commuting Hamiltonian has or has not classical qubits. So you may ask, what is classical qubits? It's some qubits where all the terms act as a classical way in this qubit. So if it's a bit confusing, you just remember something like some special qubit which you can distinguish. So based on whether you have classical or you don't have classical qubits, we will have different classical Hamiltonian. So if there's no classical qubit, then in the reduction, the classical Hamiltonian will be QD to two local. So here I highlight the two things, like something I want to emphasize. So we begin with qubit, and we do a Gibbs sampling reduction. And in the classical Hamiltonian, we pay a cost of the dimension. So we increase the dimension from qubit to QD. And on the other hand, in the commuting Hamiltonian, we begin with four local, but we have a guarantee there's no classical qubit. So it helps to decrease the locality. So finally, we will get a QD two local classical Hamiltonian. So that's the first case when there is no classical qubit. A canonical example would be defective toric code, where toric code is just defective toric is just toric code with arbitrary coefficient. And for this kind of Hamiltonian, like the classical, in the reduction, the classical Hamiltonian will be empty, which means our algorithm can prepare the Gibbs states in a very efficient way. So more precise way, our runtime will be O(n) squared. And a short remark is like this kind of proof ideal techniques can be used for like general error correcting code rather than like toric code or 2D. So that's the case for no classical qubit. If we allow classical qubit, like the situation becomes more tricky. We need to make some more assumptions, like where I won't explain in details. I just want to mention the form of the classical Hamiltonian. So since we allow classical qubit, we also pay another cost. It's like we begin from for local on 2D lattice, but our final classical Hamiltonian is constant no cost. So we pay a cost of increased locality. But anyway, in summary, what we are doing is just a Gibbs sampling reduction. Gibbs sampling reduction from commuting Hamiltonian to classical Hamiltonian. And if we combine our results to the known classical Gibbs sampler, which has been studied for many years, we will be able to get Gibbs samplers for commuting Hamiltonian. And one thing I want to mention is like, although this kind of reduction seems very precise, seems very concise, but it's in fact very powerful. It's like in the sense that we are able to replicate many state-of-art results as well as generalize new results. I will be more specific in the next slide. So what do I mean? How does our result compare to previous work? I'm going to give a big table, but before that, let me first give two definitions. So I'm going to to make the comparison, like we will use two notions of efficiency. So first notion is abbreviate as F is fast mixing, which means your algorithm will convert input and time, so it's efficient in a theoretic sense way. And a second notion is called rapid mixing, which means the mixing time is poly but log, so it's even faster. So that's the two notions I'm going to use in the table. In short, like fast mixing is efficient, and rapid mixing is even more efficient. So okay. So now we are ready to give a comparison between our work and previous work. So let's again begin with classical Hamiltonian. So what's the results we already know for classical Hamiltonian? So so from very high level, whether it's hard or easy to design a Gibbs sampler, depends on many factors. So first, for example, like the geometry of the Hamiltonian is important. Like whether it's 1D or 2D, it's a different story. And also, like as you may heard of, the temperature is also very important. Whether it's high temperature or low temperature, also different stories. But in a very like a high-level way, I would say for the classical case, like there are roughly two types of regime. One is easier, one is harder. And the harder case always appears in the low temperature regime for dimension higher than 2. So more precisely for easy, I mean like a Gibbs sampler associated with local jumper operator is supposed to be fast mixing. It's like there's no need to choose some specific thing. You just do whatever you like, you will win. And for the harder regime, if you just do something like arbitrary, you will meet problem. So for harder regime, there will be a phenomenon called critical slowdown, or something is related to phase transition. So which means like if you use local jump operator, then you can prove for some system, you can prove it will need exponential time to mix. So and to design an efficient Gibbs sampler, you need to do something like more crazy. So that's what I mean for harder. But anyway, like for the classical case, both of the regime are well studied. Like for the easier regime, they can prove rapid mixing. And for the harder regime, like at least for some Hamiltonian, they can get like fast mixing results by designing some more clever way of choosing jump operator. So that's the case for classical. And as I said, like previous work, trying to generalize the proof technique from classical to quantum world. So From very high level, they generalize some for either region they can generalize the rapid mixing results, and for the harder region, as far as I know, there are not so many results, except there are some special case for Tory code. So this is concurrent work by Ning and his co-author, and that's what we know for the previous work. And for our work, we directly use efficient Gibbs sampler. Sorry, I'm drinking some water. Yeah, so for our work, we directly use efficient Gibbs sampler. We are able to generalize many results from classical to quantum. So for the either region, we also get rapid mixing. For the harder region, we can do some kinds of Hamiltonian by using the classical technique. And besides, what I want to say is, so one thing I want to mention is our result is in fact more general than just this table. Yeah, because we are given general reduction. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so we're given a general reduction. So as long as the corresponding classical Hamiltonian has an efficient Gibbs sampler, we will be able to design the efficient Gibbs sampler for the commuting Hamiltonian. So that's what I want to mention. And a remark is so this table is only for comparison for the task of preparing Gibbs states. So previous work depends on depth generator. So they are naturally has some relationship with the summarization process. This is something we don't cover. Okay, so I have some time to explain this. So previously I explained the comparison between our work and the previous work on Gibbs sampler. So next I wish to spend some time to explain some complexity question related to our work. So the question I want to mention is called approximate counting. So roughly speaking, it's about estimate partition function. So the reason I want to make slides for this question is because it's one of my favorite complexity questions. So in the classical, one of my favorite complexity questions is in the classical world, we know counting is sharply hard, but we know approximate counting is much easier. Okay, it's not much easier. It's something. It's like BPP to the NP. So if you have a good heuristic way of for example, a good heuristic stat solver, you might be able to solve some approximate counting just by some efficient algorithm. So that's why I like it. So you can also ask the same question for the quantum case. You can ask, okay, for quantum approximate counting, I just mean you want to estimate or approximate quantum partition function. So similarly, you can ask, okay, whether quantum approximate counting is also in BQP to the QMA. So it's something like an analog of BQP to the NP. But as far as I know, I think there's no positive results in this direction. And the relationship between this problem and our work is our result is in fact a slight positive result, a little positive result in this direction is we show for various commuting Hamiltonian, the corresponding quantum approximate counting is in BQP to something, where something, the CS is a oracle for performing classical Gibbs sampling. So yeah, I would like to draw your interest to explore the complexity of quantum approximate counting. So that's the main part of this talk. So in summary, what we are doing is we do a Gibbs sampling reduction. So we reduce the Gibbs state preparation task for commuting Hamiltonian to the Gibbs state sampling task for classical Hamiltonian, for some commuting Hamiltonian, not for everything. And the open problem or something we are very curious about is so if you ask me about the proof techniques, I would say the proof techniques comes from some secret knowledge of people working on Hamiltonian complexity. So yeah, I was working on Hamiltonian complexity, and now I'm working on Gibbs sampling. So that's why I can make this connection. So we are very curious about like whether like more results on like especially the structural results for commuting Hamiltonian from Hamiltonian complexity can be used to like get such kinds of Gibbs sampling reduction. So that's the first open question. And the second one, like as I mentioned, like so I'm very curious about the complexity of quantum approximate counting. So I'm interested to see whether someone can show the quantum approximate counting is in BQP to something, which the oracle O is something weaker than QIP. Yeah, so that's all. Thank you.
If the next speaker is here, please come to the backstage to prepare for your talk. And for the time, we still have time for some questions. If there's any, I guess if you have questions for the first talk, maybe you can also feel free to ask.
Here's Chris.
Yeah, thanks for the next talk. I got one quick question about the table you just presented in the second last slide. You're actually very new to the complexity theory, but how to read this table?
You mean this table?
Yes.
Sorry. Like the first column is the question, and the second column is the complexity. For example, the first line says classical approximate counting can be solved by in BPP to the NP. So like if you have NP oracle, then you can just solve approximate counting in classical polynomial time.
I see. Yes, thanks. Another question is, so you mentioned you may want to prepare the Gibbs states for the toric code, Hamiltonian. I was just curious, why do we want to do this?
This is not our motivation. So there are two different questions. So first, like you ask me why I'm doing it here. This is just a corollary of because we want to compare with the previous work. I think people study Gibbs states for toric code for many different reasons. For example, they want to find some connection. There's some connection between the summarization process of toric code and the error correcting codes. That's why the previous paper do something like this. But for here, this is just we just make some artificial comparison between. This is not our goal. Yeah.
I think given the time constraint, we probably need to end the Q&A session. But if you have more questions, feel free to ask Jiaqing here. And thank her again.